Kathleen Rose Perkins, you play Carol Rance on episodes. I got to say, poor Carol. My goodness, where we left off with poor old Carol. Let's go from the top, because if people haven't seen it, maybe just stop watching this. But if you have, you know what we're talking about. First of all, the lesbian love story that came out of nowhere for me. What about you?
Wow. Okay. So in 2010, when we started this, and we embarked on episodes as a series, the writers and creators, David Crane and Jeffrey Clark, pulled me aside while we were shooting the first season and said, so the idea for this character is that she's going to have a revolving door of bosses, and she will have an affair with every single one of them. And eventually we want to earn a woman in that revolving door scenario, and there will be no exception to the rule. And as soon as they told me that, I was like, oh, just please, just give me, like, every time we were getting re-upped for a new season, I just wanted to get one more season just so that we could get to that one storyline, because it's brilliant to me. Yeah, it's out of nowhere, kind of, but I think they've earned it with having two pretty terrible men that she had a relationship with. Merc was just a big, awful baby. Ugh. And then Castor was a crazy, insane, sadistic weirdo. Yeah. And now here comes this woman who's really beautiful, played by Andrea Savage, who's not too shabby to look at. And then she comes on to her, at first it's like, fee you, I'm not going to have to deal with this saga anymore. And then as soon as she comes on to her, it's like, why wouldn't I go for it? Why not? And it turns out to be the most respectful and loving relationship I think Carol's ever been in. so yeah, it kind of came out of nowhere, but I think they were really smart in how they earned it and how they told the story, in that that's what Carol wants, is to just be loved, obviously, and to feel it in any way. And this woman just showers it on her. So why wouldn't she jump at the chance to be in bed with her? And the sex apparently works. So
yeah.
It's all a win-win.
She's very happy. It's a win-win. Yeah, look, as a viewer, at first I was like, oh my goodness, this is interesting. But then you just want this to work, because Carol is finally with someone that respects her and likes her for who she is. And that's great, because we as a viewer love Carol and we want to see the best for her. So I get what you're saying. They totally earned it. But
this was the first time I've ever played Carol as happy, and it's a really interesting thing, because she's always pretending to be happy and pretending to be positive, and everything's fine, and everything's good, and she's always spinning things to be positive, and she never is. And then out of nowhere, she's like giddy, and I didn't know what that was supposed to look like until I sat down at the restaurant. There's a scene with Beverly in a restaurant where she asks me about the relationship, and I actually have a line that says, I think I might be happy. It's like that feeling of like, I've never felt this before.
Yeah, what is this feeling? It's this weird sensation. I don't get it. Yeah.
Exactly.
I think that might be episode 6, because we're going to talk about your highlights later, because that scene is so good. It's the episode as well where you're talking about the pet name emergency, but let's go there later, because there's just some amazing stuff that you had to work with. But I was wondering this. You're an actress, so you've done lots of different things, and I'm sure there are some things that are quite challenging. I'm wondering if having scenes, like lesbian sex scenes, so to speak, is that a challenging thing to do? Or is it really just like, who cares, no big deal, it's just like anything else, you're working?
Well, I'll tell you, I think what they did was slightly tame.
That's true.
I mean, because I've known about this for about 5 years, so I was ready to get into it. I was ready to
do this.
Some hardcore stuff, and
hardcore.
we didn't really do anything that was that crazy. We kissed a little bit and cuddled and nuzzled, and we're really just really very cute. But we never really did anything crazy hardcore. And I was kind of like, oh,
damn!
I really wanted to get in there.
I know. You wanted to get all up in that, and yeah, and come on, Showtime.
I wanted to see what that would have been like, because, you know, in previous years, I've had some pretty strange sex scenes with Merck and with Castor, and so I was hoping that there would be some really interesting, strange, intricate stuff going on here, but they really didn't want to play into that. They wanted to just show them as very loving, you know, and gentle.
Damn is all I can say. What a shame. Showtime, come on. You can show everything on Showtime. I was expecting everything. And anyway.
Right. And I was willing. I was a willing participant.
You were ready. You had psyched yourself up. And for nothing. What a waste of energy.
It's a sad, sad, sad thing.
Maybe next time. But anyway, you already touched on the I love the phrase revolving door, because that hadn't occurred to me, but that's exactly what it is. Why does Carol gravitate and sleep with her bosses over and over again? What is wrong with her? What's that all about?
It's I mean, I say it the scene where we actually end up together kissing for the first time, and I think in episode 3 that I have father issues. And now I have mother issues as well. Like, I think she has this, you know, an attraction to authority, and she really strives and just needs approval from anybody who's in authority over her. So I get it. I understand it. A lot of women suffer from that, and it makes for such a great character trait, I think, you know. And what if Carol was the boss? What would happen?
What would she do then?
Would she have a relationship? I mean,
you're just blowing my mind. I don't know. That's too much. Let's not even go there.
I kind of so we just got okayed for a 5th season.
Yeah, congratulations.
I thank you, and I can't wait to see if, like, what will happen. What if she gets a job that she's the head? Like, what if she doesn't? What if she has nobody? What if she doesn't? I don't know what's going to happen.
It's existential questions that we will not know until they write it and they tell you. But, she's obviously not working at the CW, so that was interesting. Like, so the finale ends where she's ready to roll with Castor at the new job that she takes because Helen's being so mean to her. And no, that was just because Castor's a complete psycho crazy person. So that's where we left off with Carol. No, kind of. I should have. Like, when it happened, I'm like, oh yeah, of course, he's crazy. Yeah. But at the time, I was totally like, yes, the CW, yes, let's do this. So I fell for it.
Well, how great. So yeah, he's an insane person, but of course, who gets fired because he goes insane in front of a ton of people at this network. But of course, in this business, it's completely believable that he would end up at the CW as the lead, you know, the head of the CW, because this business forgives everything. So, I did not see that coming at all. When I read the finale script for the first time, my mouth just stayed open. It was a gape, because I was like, Carol's gone? Carol's gone from the network, and then she goes to this other place thinking that she's going to be a number 2 somewhere else, and he's that insane that he made up a job for her. That's crazy. I loved it. I loved every minute of it. And I mean, my storyline for this season was my favorite season so far. It was just awesome.
So much to do. They threw a lot at you. Hint, Emmy voters, but let's not go there just yet. Now, I want to know something, because I'm a really big fan of the show, and I thought I knew everything, but I actually didn't know that the show is all written before, and you guys know the whole thing, and you sit down and you go through the whole show together, every episode. 4.5 hours, you sit down and you do it, and then you go off and film it. That's really unusual. I didn't know that. How come that happens? And talk us through that.
Yeah, they want to know because it's a, it's a what do they call it? It's not serial. It's a serial. It's like from beginning to end. You have to watch it from beginning to end to know what's happening. So they never want to like not know what's going to be where the storyline is going to go. So they take, and it's just David Crane and Jeffrey Clarick in a room together for months, just writing every episode. And when we come to shoot it, we have that table read day that from hell. So it's for 4.5 hours.
That's hard.
Reading this entire season, and then we start to shoot it. And the way we shoot it is called block shooting, where you shoot scenes in one day. We'll shoot a scene from the first episode, the 5th episode, the 7th episode, and the 9th episode.
Wow.
So, and not in that order. So you have to know every piece of the storyline, and from beginning to end, you have to know what's going on. It's a really big challenge, but it's so much fun. And it's like shooting a big movie, really. It's just shooting a really big bad movie. Because you know what happens from beginning to end. And it's really hard when you're doing press, or when you're doing, or when you're just talking to friends, and you want to tell them what happens. Like my boyfriend always stops. I start talking and he goes, don't, shut up. I won't watch it. And I just will tell him that the scene that we're shooting, the first scene that I shot this season was me walking into the CW office with the box. And it was my last scene of the entire season. It was the first scene that I shot. So I don't know what I did, or what I'm going to do. So you just have to be on top of it, and the writing is so amazing that it's pretty easy to know from step 1 to step 9 where you're going to go.
Yeah, look, that's the beauty of the show. Like, the writing is what most people talk about first, because it's so subtle and economical and funny, like actually funny. When I spoke to Matt LeBlanc last year, it was like the main part of our whole interview was about how this show is actually so funny, and so many comedies are not funny, really. They're not really that funny. Whereas this one, I will laugh out loud throughout the whole thing, and I'll look at whoever I'm watching it with and just say, why aren't more people into this? Like, it's a smaller show. It's not like it's a huge mega hit, because people aren't aware of how bloody funny it is, right? And what do you think about that? Because it's so hard to be funny, but it must be the writing and the way you guys get it out there.
These writers to me are the most genius comedy writers I've ever had the privilege to work with or watch, for that matter. It's not only laugh out loud funny, but it's all character driven. And again, I use the word earned. Like, there are moments that they just take their time earning a really beautiful punchline, like a really, and then just coming up with lines that are just that I got that line of like when she says, "You really picked it up pretty well after our first night together, me and Helen." And I said, yeah, it was a little weird at first because there's just nothing to hold on to. That's so funny. And who has that brain? And I'm in complete agreement with you. When I watch it, I laugh out loud because I never get to work with Matt, or very rarely Steven. So everything that I'm seeing is the finished product as well. It's like watching a completely different show, and it's so funny and so good. And I think we have a very wonderful core audience of people who really love the show, but maybe it's too specific and maybe it just hasn't caught on as much as I'd love it to, but at least somebody's watching it.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. And it's also the actors, Stephen, Tamsin, yourself, Matt, and all the others. All you have to do is give a look, really. And because of what the writing has set up, it just gets me every time. And Ian's direction as well. He's on the ballot for the season finale. Now that you've told us how it's filmed and how it's all blocked out like that, it would be very challenging to get it right. And I think the direction is an area of the show that's probably not as recognized as it should be. So all that has to work together like a puzzle. And if it doesn't, then it's just not going to come across as good as it does. So that's a good thing, I suppose.
Yeah, I people don't know that this show, how it's shot, how it's written. I think across the board, the people who deserve as many Emmys and Golden Globes and accolades as possible are the writers, because it's only two of them. It's David and Jeffrey sitting in a room, and it's every word is word specific, and none of us actors really come in and do any improvisation. We're just learning their words, and they are brilliant at it. And I don't know that there's that many shows that do that. A lot of shows have a full room full of writers that can add and subtract and help with telling a story, for each episode, but that they can use heart and also like dark comedy and just like outright like yucca jokes that really make you laugh out loud, and that they're all every single character has a really specific point of view, and they really care about telling everybody. Like even Myra, who was pregnant this entire season, that's a running gag that was hilarious, and it was full. It wasn't a light throwaway thing. No. It was like the funniest. I thought that was so funny that they were like, I don't know if she's pregnant.
We don't know. Let's not say anything. No. Yeah, we don't know anything about her. Like we've worked with her for years and we have no idea who she is. Yeah.
She's got those 2 cats. That's all I know.
That's all I know. But she's the size of a house.
And I mean, so to me, nobody deserves awards and accolades more, and for viewers to watch, than the writers.
Yeah.
Themselves. I mean, we come in and we do our best, but and we add our own little shtick to it, definitely, but they're the ones that it starts with,
Yeah, and testament to the Emmys that they've nominated Jeffrey and David every year for their writing, which is really great. The writers branch of the TV Academy are always so forward-thinking about who they nominate. Did you see the ad that Jeffrey and David put in the trades? They paid for their own ad and said something like, I was just looking it up on my phone so I could read it to you, but they said something like they wanted to remind people about how good the cast is, and they should have spent their money on therapy, but instead they decided to spend it on this because therapy hasn't helped them yet. It's a pretty cool ad. You should check it out. I love that.
They did that?
They did. Yeah, they did. And it's really cool. It's a cool ad. They just did a handwritten note. So there you go. They're trying to get you guys a bit more recognition. So we'll see how that works.
Oh, shoot. Okay, great. Thank you for telling me, because I don't read the trades. And
yeah, I saw it on Deadline. So you should get someone to look it up for you if you have a minute.
Oh, my gosh. That's amazing. That's so cool. They're the coolest. They're
the coolest. Really cool bosses.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your episode highlights, okay? So if you are nominated, as you know, you have to choose your episode to submit to the panel of judges. And there's many to choose from for Carol towards the beginning of the season. I think episode 6, but episode 9 obviously is where you run into Castor and you have the job offer, and then you're at the CW with your box and your flowers. And 8 is when Helen is...
forget, my favorite scene of the entire season was getting caught on the hiking trail with Beverly.
Yeah.
And that That's in episode 9, and I was in Griffith Park completely naked.
Was it cold that day?
What?
Yeah, you had your hand. Like, was it a cold day? Or was that?
No, it's very hot, so there was a lot of sunblock.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. UV, all that stuff. Okay, so maybe 9.
Favorite scene. Yeah. Any scene with Tamsin Greig is, she's amazing. So.
Totally. And you guys have this, we've said it last time we spoke, you guys have this really unusually great chemistry. And I know it can be so boring, but it's true. That when you guys are together, something happens. It's very unusual. So
yeah,
there you go.
We've become incredibly close because of this show. And it's like her friendship has been probably the best thing I got out of this show. I love this character, and I love what this character and people watching it has done for my career. But the best thing, hands down, is Tamsin and her friendship. She's an amazing lady, and we get really excited when we get to play together.
Yeah, I can see. Well, that's probably why it translates on the screen. Let's take a different.
When we had to do that scene where she come around the corner and she catches us, and she asked me a couple of days prior to shooting that. She was like, "What are you gonna do?" And Tamsin said, and I said, "I'm just gonna scream and jump around because like I saw a snake or something." And she's like, "Okay, whatever you do, I'm gonna do." And then every take, it just got longer and longer, and we just kept jumping around and screaming and because we just had so much fun doing it. Yeah, she's just really, really, really fun to play with.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. What does episodes get right about Hollywood? Like, if you can name one thing about the craziness of working in Hollywood, what does episodes get 100% correct?
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. The one thing it gets wrong about it is it's much more tragic feeling when you're actually in it. Like, for all intents and purposes, this should be a drama. It should not be a comedy. And that they're that smart and they're that witty and they're that comedic of writers that they can kind of make this really kind of ugly, unnatural, strange world seem funny and fun to laugh at is it's pretty impressive that they can do that, because when you're going through it, I'm sure you've talked to a lot of actors. It's a hard business to be a part of, and there's so much rejection. There's so much judgment. There's so much. It should be a drama. We should be crying and everything.
Yeah.
But we're not. We actually laugh, and we should be smoking pot in every scene. We should be doing cocaine in every scene, because and we should be in
just
therapy.
To get through it.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the one thing they get kind of wrong is the tragedy is a lot worse to feel than what it looks like.
Wow. It's not all lights and glamour. It's hard. We all have that.
Yeah.
So there's one completely different question just before we go, because I've had you on here for way too long. You've probably got other things to do. It was really cool. Okay, let's just sit here all day.
We could just hang out.
Why not? Let's just have a laugh.
Yeah.
It was really cool to see you on Gone Girl.
Oh yeah.
Like that's of last year, and when you turned up in that really great scene and she's taking the selfie. Tell us about getting involved in that film, because that was a really cool thing to do.
Yeah, no, I got an audition. They just said, dress up with a lot of makeup and your hair done, and that was it. So I hadn't read the book, and so I called my friend who did read the book and said, okay, there's a character named Shauna Kelly. Tell me about her. And she whipped through her book and said, oh, okay, she's real white trashy. She's from, you know, Missouri. Like, she kind of filled me in. So I show up in like short, like cut-off Daisy Dukes, and like my hair all huge and lots of sparkly makeup. And I just had a lot of attitude with high heels. And I think that's the only reason why I got the job, was because I showed up kind of white trashy, because I saw a couple of other girls come in and they just looked pretty. But because they didn't really know, they didn't read the book, or they didn't know what it was about, because it was so hush-hush. You know, David Fincher, it was really kind of hush-hush audition. And, you know, they didn't give us sides before we got there. We had to learn them on the spot. So I got the audition, and then I went and they gave me the job, and I was like, really?
Wow.
All right. And then I showed up, and then they were shooting that scene in a small town outside of St. Louis, Missouri. And I got to hang out with locals there, because there were a lot of all the extras were locals, and they all talked with this really thick, you know, Southern accent that I didn't know, because, you know, you think Missouri, it's going to be kind of Midwest, or it's going to be Southern. It's kind of right in that middle. So I just chose to do the Southern accent because they were doing it. So and that's how it came to be.
Wow.
And it was awesome to work with David Fincher and Ben Affleck. I mean, I just wanted more. I wanted a bigger part. Like, I was like, could Shauna come back and just hang out?
Can she come back? Can Rosamund Pike just step aside and let me take on that role? Like,
she doesn't need all of those lines.
She doesn't need all those lines. So selfish. So greedy. So
right?
greedy. Yeah, totally.
She was amazing in that too, wasn't she?
Oh, yeah. Should have won the Oscar. That's another story.
Yeah. I agree.
Well, it's been so great talking to you again, Kathleen. I hope Emmy voters are paying more attention to episodes. They should be, because it's the funniest show on TV, and Carol had the best season yet, and we are so looking forward to season 5.
Thank you. It was so good to talk to you again.